It really is quite a gratifying experience to be able to honor a parent in such a unique way. And luckily for us, our father's music allowed us to do just that.
We are here to share.
Around 2005, Dad had been diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, which is actually the same form of dementia that Robin Williams had been diagnosed with. In 2009, he passed. And while we do miss him, it really is his music that keeps him alive for all of us in the family. Dad was quite a Renaissance man. I mean, he was a bank president, he served as a Wyoming legislator, he was also a teacher and a financial consultant. But I would say one of the main connecting pieces between all of the family, especially us 5 kids, was Dad's songwriting and recording career. Dad and his brother Todd had been involved in music from a very young age. They were both in a local rock band back in their hometown during high school. And during the 70s, he really began to pursue his songwriting career. He had the great fortune of writing for John Anderson and Charlie McCoy, Dale McBride, and some others. He started a publishing company as well there in Nashville with one of his friends, and then later started a full-fledged recording studio. Dad has always considered himself a Christian, I would say, but I wouldn't say he was really fully committed to what God wanted him to do. But in the early 90s, he really began to kind of, I'd say, reevaluate his life and came to the conclusion that he really needed more. And the question was, where does this new path with God take him? And it really didn't take him long to see that he really had been preparing his whole life for this musical calling he had. I mean, not only did he have the skill set to do it, but the equipment and also the large network to make it happen quite seamlessly. Between 1991 and 1993, Dad wrote 3 Christian albums and traveled the country with a group as Don Jackson Ministries. Dad recorded his album with his good friend and probably one of the most talented musicians in the country, Ken Garrett. Ken was the arranger and sequencer for, I would say, probably about 95% of all of Dad's albums. Ken has a firm grasp on many different instruments and styles, and that helped to make these albums so very, very strong. About 3 or 4 years ago, I had this really strong sense that it was time to reissue some of Dad's music. It really didn't take me long to decide that his first Christian album, We Are Here to Share, was really the way to go with that. This album was a collection of some of the songs that Dad had already written before his ministry began, plus new ones that he had started to write. To me, this album is his most open and inquisitive when it comes to his relationship with God, and such a level of vulnerability that makes this album so powerful. The early 2000s is when I had actually started transferring all of his reel-to-reel master tapes to a digital format, which allows me to not only remix an album as if he had just recorded it, but also edit, fix, clean up areas, as well as add additional processing to any of his songs, which probably would not have been easily done back then. It really was such great fun revisiting these old 16-track reels, and I never knew exactly what I was going to find, but there was plenty. So one of the first songs that I started with was this song called Jesus, Sweet Jesus, and it was one that he and his brother had written, I'd say probably in the late 80s. And one of the arguments that Dad and I used to have quite a bit was about adding reverb to vocals, and he used to always add quite a bit of reverb to vocals. As I was listening to the tracks, I was really excited because I was going to get to remix it, and lo and behold, Dad, even after he passed, was going to find a way to win this argument. And so I'm sitting there listening to his tracks, and right at the beginning, there's no reverb, and then
I was fighting for survival in the days of yesterday.
All of a sudden I had realized he had by accident recorded the reverb on his vocal tracks. So now all that reverb was stuck on those tracks and there was no way I could edit it. So it was like, point 1 for Dad.
Now in his word there is power. Ask and you'll receive. In my darkest hour, he says, Satan, let it be. And now I'm able to move a mountain with you by my side, and my spirit flows like a fountain. In your word I will abide. Jesus, sweet.
Dad's recording equipment was pretty state-of-the-art for its time, but also took up quite a bit of space. But now I can remix any of his albums with just a laptop or a small computer. We had boxes and boxes of his tapes, and now everything, his entire catalog, fits on a flash drive the size of my fingernail, and I have far more editing capabilities than he originally had. So I went through each song and decided if I needed to just maybe touch it up or tweak it, like re-recording the drum tracks or adding an organ or some new background vocals, or if I needed to like re-record the entire musical soundtrack, which I ended up doing on 2 of those songs, We Are Here to Share and Jesus Sweet Jesus. So the title track, We Are Here to Share, is probably one of the most powerful songs in the album, and Ken did a fantastic job with the music. I still heard a little bit more that I wanted to do, more to just modernize it than to change the texture of it. So listening to what he did, I came up with some ideas for a piano track, and that's usually what I start with when I do the soundtracks. I start with a piano, and so this is kind of what I came up with for that sound. So from there, I added the bass tracks and the drum tracks and string tracks, and that's how it came to sound like it does today.
And we are here to share, oh, the Spirit of the Lord. When we are together, He will be there. We are here to share. We are here to share. Oh, the Spirit of the Lord. When we are together, He will be there. We are here to share.
I really truly feel like his music and ministry still have work to do. It's still very relevant and unique music, and instead of just sitting around on a hard drive, I wanted to put it out there again to bless a new batch of listeners. My desire for this album is really to portray his love for God and people. I hope he's just as proud of this new release as he was of the first one. It still touches me every time I hear it, and I hope it does the same for everybody else who hears it too.
How could